Hey y'all, hope y'all are doing good. Thank you for tuning into this video. And this video is how the Vols can win the SEC in 2024. So first things first, do I think Tennessee is going to win the SEC championship in 2024? No, I do not. I think the SEC is divided into three tiers. Tier 1 is Georgia, Ole Miss, and Texas. And I think Tier 2 is Alabama, Tennessee, LSU, and Missouri. And Tier 3 is everybody else, okay? The teams in Tier 2, I think they can win an SEC championship this year, but I think they're going to have some help, right? I think the teams in Tier 1 are more ready to win the SEC this year. And so, anyway, I just want to break down some things on what I think are going to have to happen if Tennessee wants to win the SEC championship in 2024. The first thing that I want to talk about is the defensive line. It needs to be dominant this year. They were really good last year, but this year they need to put it together and be even better. This is a group that was fourth nationally in tackles for loss last year, which is really good. They were eighth in team sacks, which is really, really good too. And then they were 19th in rush defense, which is good. They need to be even better in the rush defense. If they can get inside the top 15, top 10 in rush defense, then you're going to have a defensive line that's elite. They're going to be an elite defensive line. So that's the first thing. Can the defensive line do those things? And if the defensive line does those things, they're going to take a lot of pressure off the secondary, okay, which is the glaring weakness on this Tennessee team. The second thing is the pass offense. It's going to have to be better, folks. 50th in the country last year, averaged 243 yards a game. That's just not good enough. And we need to be closer to 300 yards a game if we're expecting to win an SEC championship this year. We're going to have the receivers step up and play better. You know, Joe Milton at times did not play good last year, but he had a lot of drops out of the receivers. They did not help him. But guess what? The receivers are going to be much better this year, in my opinion. I think of all the position groups, the receivers is probably the second strongest, okay? It's a group that's deeper. You've got Brew McCoy coming back, Dante Thornton, you got Chris Brazzell, Squirrel White, and you got Mike Matthews, who's a true freshman. He's coming in. So they're going to be much, much better, deeper. And I think I know Nico is going to be better than Joe Milton, okay? So, and he throws a much better ball than Joe Milton does. Joe Milton was worried about throwing at 109 mile an hour. It didn't matter if it was an 80-yard throw or a 5-yard slant. So you're going to see that group take a step forward, in my opinion, the passing offense. But not only, folks, do they need to take a step forward, they need to take a gigantic step forward if they expect to win the SEC in 2024. So that's the second thing. The third thing is the running game. The running game, which it was elite last year for Tennessee. Thank God for the running game, right? Because we didn't really have anything outside that running game. I remember the Texas A&M game. We didn't do anything throwing the football. We could not do anything. And we ran the ball against a Texas A&M defensive line that was elite, who going into that game was stopping everybody. But they didn't stop us. We ran for over 200 yards on them. We ran the ball basically on most teams, maybe outside of Alabama and Georgia. We ran it all over them, okay? So they were 9th overall last year. They were number 1 in the SEC. We're going to have that same kind of performance out of the rushing offense in 2024. Another elite performance. Dylan Sampson, Peyton Lewis, Cam Seldon, those are your running backs. We're going to have a big year out of those guys. Thank God for the offensive line that we have coming back. We've got 3 really good offensive line with a ton of experience that are returning. Mays, Spraggins, and Campbell. Those 3 right there have over 90 combined starts in their career, and that's going to pay off, I think, big this year. I think the running back game is going to be good again this year, but it doesn't need to be just good. It has to be phenomenal again, because like I said, if you want to win an SEC championship, you can't be good. You have to be amazing. You have to be excellent. So those are the things they're going to have to do there. And then the last thing, you know, it's kind of the elephant in the room that everybody knows. It's that secondary, okay? So the secondary last year was 64th overall in pass defense. They're going to have to be a lot better than that this year. You know, we had 10 players that went into the portal, that we lost them, so we have some depth issues there. We did add Jermod McCoy, Jalen McMurray, which in my opinion are they're better. Okay, that we're upgrading. But when you lose 10 people, you have a depth issue. And then we had Jordan Thomas that got injured. So, what's this secondary going to look like? Is it going to be a drop off again, or are they going to stay about the same? Well, if they are, we're not going to win the SEC. It's going to have to be a group that when you look at the stats at the end of the year, it's going to have to be a top 30 pass defense if we're expecting to win an SEC title. And that's just facts. If Tennessee can do all those things, then they can win an SEC championship. It's kind of a long shot, but listen, if you do all those things I just said, Tennessee can win an SEC championship. Guys, that's just my thoughts. Thank you guys for tuning in and hearing me rant for a second about Tennessee and their odds at winning an SEC championship.